2 years ago, the first U.S.-China Climate Leader Summit was held in Los Angeles, resulting in some historic commitments to reduce carbon emissions. But that was then. This is now. The U.S., under President Donald Trump, is reversing course by rolling back federal environmental regulations and pulling out of major agreements, including the Paris Climate Accord. The state of California is fighting back by forging unilateral partnerships with other cities and countries, including China.
I think the Chinese government totally gets it, and our government here in California does. And we are trying to go ahead without Trump, without the federal government. In fact, we're taking steps in our legislature to try to insulate California to the extent we can from the bad stuff that the Trump administration is doing.
Governor Jerry Brown has emerged as the de facto U.S. envoy on climate change. Earlier this year, Brown met with Chinese President Xi Jinping to discuss solutions. Mary Nichols serves under the governor as head of the California Air Resources Board, the state's clean air agency. She admits the leadership role by the U.S. on climate change is evaporating.
The Paris Accord came about because President Obama reached out to China, but the two countries together were the ones that brought the rest of the nations of the world to the table and got that agreement. With the United States now having as its leader a person who wants to pull away from that role, there is this vacuum.
China is willing to fill that vacuum. It's crushing the U.S. in renewable energy, including solar, wind, and hydropower. Earlier this year, China set a goal to meet 20% of the country's clean energy needs by 2030. Good for the environment, but also good for the economy.
Clean energy, it's $1 trillion U.S. dollar market, worldwide market, and Trump, who calls himself the great deal maker, is giving it to China for nothing.
And China is all in. It's pledged at least $360 billion in renewable power generation by 2020, which will create more than 13 million jobs. But China alone can't win the war against climate change. Experts say everyone has to join the fight.
When we look at the numbers globally, if India doesn't begin to join the party here, we still won't make it. I think what we've learned, the more we understand the science of global warming and what the possible solutions are, that you really can't do it without bringing in the entire world.
Until then, China continues to raise the bar. It recently announced that it will phase out fossil fuel burning vehicles. Given the fact that China is the largest auto market in the world, that could turn the industry on its head. Governor Jerry Brown is taking notice. Word is he's interested in taking China's lead and imposing a similar ban in the biggest car market in the U.S., California. May Lee, CGTN, Los Angeles.